can do is just tell the truth and trust in the American people that over time they're going to know what the truth is.
Yes, it is time for the truth. Right here, right now. This is the Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives. With your host, John Matthews.
The latter-day prophet.
Baying against the hypocrisies of our time.
And Joe Hakos.
You want answers. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
The Conservative Syndicate is comprised of some of the most informed pundits and activists available today. Together, we seek to tear down the imaginary wall of separation between church and state through education, information, and engagement on the religion of politics and the politics of religion. And now, your hosts on the globally syndicated Conservative Syndicate, John Matthews and Joe Hakos.
Well, how are we doing out there all across this great land of ours and around the world? It's that time. Time for the Conservative Syndicate, coming to you once again, coast to coast and around the world. Nationally acclaimed, globally syndicated, where it's prime time somewhere all the time. Glad to have you with us this afternoon. And we have for you, I think, another bang-up show. We're going to do a little bit more expounding upon our lesson, I guess if you want to refer to it as that, on what we started yesterday called the Moat and Bailey. We're going to tie up some loose ends with that. I'm going to get in a little bit today into the endorsement that has finally come out of the Bernie Sanders camp, and even take a look at the draft. We don't have the official Democratic platform right now, but I was able to get my hands on a draft that was made up, and a real interesting article that I'll share with you today by one of the people who was there present during the debate and voting on the planks of the Democrat platform. Kind of interesting how that all went down. And so we're going to talk about that. And, of course, I can't get enough of, or I can't get it out of my head, the exhibition that we saw yesterday by our president again. And, here's my initial thought. In fact, before I get into that, let me get Joe on here. Joe's my co-host, Joe Hakos. How you doing, Joe?
I'm doing great, John. John, I got an email with I got a little report about the full body scans that are being done at the airports. There's some little statistics on this. So it says real short cover. This terrorists discovered were 0. Transvestites were 133. Hernias, 1,485. Hemorrhoid cases were 3,172. There were 8,249 enlarged prostates. There were 59,350 breast implants. 3 were natural blondes. And it was also discovered that 308 politicians had no balls.
Now that sounds like something that would have come out of the well, not either party platform for that matter. Maybe something like maybe the Freedom Caucus would come up with, or something like that.
Hey, but I do have some actual news from our friends up in Cleveland. There, a man I know, Peter Feeman, who's the national committee man here in Florida, and he gave a little status update from Cleveland up there at the Republican National right before they open up and do the convention. And it's greetings from Cleveland. The Republican Standing Committee on Rules, not to be confused with the Convention Rules Committee, met today. John Ryder, the general counsel to the Republican National Committee, made it very clear that Republican National Committee Rule 16 is in full force and effect, and all delegates are bound to vote in accordance with the binding rules of the state from which they come. And below his opinion, dear RNC members, we are pleased that the court correctly found that Rule 16 of the rules of the Republican Party is in effect, and delegates remain bound in accordance with their state's presidential preference votes. The court recognized long-standing precedent that gives primacy to the national party rules in the selection of the delegates to the National Convention. This ruling also makes clear that the rules of the Republican Party of Virginia are in conformity with the rules of the Republican Party regarding binding and allocation. In light of the court's decision, all party rules regarding binding and all state laws consent with those rules are in effect, regards the RNC counsel's office. Peter goes on to write, tomorrow afternoon, the convention rules committee has its first meeting. He repeats that what he's been saying for months. Trump will be the nominee. The cake is baked. Now onward to from Cleveland to victory in November, when the restoration of American values and greatness will begin in earnest. Peter Feynman, National Committee, Florida.
Well, that's encouraging. That is at least encouraging that we won't have this thing all about a tit for tat or throwing chairs at each other and all this other stuff. At least out in the open, at least out in the main arena. As I said, I think last week, I'm not personally paying a whole lot of attention to what goes on with the Republicans right now, other than curious as to who Trump is going to end up naming as his vice president nominee. I think from what I'm hearing now, it's down to Chris Christie, Mike Pence, Newt Gingrich, or Jeff Sessions. That's the list I'm hearing. That's the short list I'm hearing. I believe he met with Jeff Sessions today and met with Mike Pence yesterday. So, other than that, I'm not really paying a whole lot of attention to it. And I'll tell you why. Personally, for me, it's because everything is being skewed right now to try to give the impression that Hillary just got this thing locked up. The polls and everything else, I really, if this election process has really just embedded in my soul and being something that perhaps in the past I've tried to give some credence and credibility to, is that polls mean absolutely nothing.
Absolutely.
And I'm sitting there and, I caught Limbaugh this morning. I had to go on an appointment this morning, and I was able to catch just the very beginning of his show, and he was talking about how the left is out there accusing people like Rush Limbaugh of being of having what they call data denial syndrome. Okay, they refuse to acknowledge that the polls say what they say. Okay, that kind of thing. And he was bringing it up. He said, because the media wants us to believe that, this is all over. It's all over. Clinton's got the nomination now. Sanders endorsed her today, which we're going to talk about a little bit later. And, it's done deal. Everybody hates Trump and blah, blah, blah. He says, but, I'm looking at the polls this morning, and what I got articles that are showing up out there this morning are telling us that Trump is actually leading in some of the swing states that just 2 weeks ago Hillary was supposed to have locked up. So I go, so if I'm suffering from data denial syndrome, does that mean I'm not supposed to believe these either? That kind of thing. So it just reiterates, when we need to even consider the polls as being credible is about a week before the election.
Well, I think probably a week after the election.
Well, I think we'll get some a truer reading, and not necessarily in who's going to vote, or who's going to vote for who, but who's going to show up, because that's really what it's going to come down to. It's going to come down to, can Sanders convince his people that he hasn't sold his soul, and get those people to show up? I understand today at his endorsement, given his endorsement speech, that there were a great number, a noticeable number of college kids there that had big signs that said "Nope," and they walked out on him in the middle of his speech. So
feel the burn, baby. You just been burned.
Yeah. So it's going to be the same thing. Now on the other hand, the big thing we've always wondered about and even worried about is that if the RNC somehow circumvents Trump's nomination, that a lot of people are just going to go the wayside, the people that Trump has ignited or inspired, and they were just going to go the wayside, and that would be the end of it, and there wouldn't be enough people to show up to vote for him. But if what you're saying is true, then the only people we have to really worry about are the no-Trumpsters, and I think really, in reality, that's probably a very small number. I don't think it's a number if we equate it to the number of people that on Sanders' side, if they just say, no, we're not voting for Hillary no matter what, and so it's going to be, to me, just who turns up, who shows up.
Yeah, the enthusiasm gap. Yeah, who's got the momentum, the enthusiasm going on? who's motivated.
Yeah, and I think I'd put more money on the 40 to 55 crowd of moderates out there to show up than I would on the 20-somethings sitting in a college campus right now, pissed off because one more time they didn't get their way.
Yeah, they didn't get something given to them on a silver platter.
Yeah, they didn't get what they want, so we'll just hold our breath until we turn blue,
They'll
which
just
is
retreat
fine.
to their little safe places and stay home.
Yeah. Hey, do your thing with Black Lives Matter and everything else, and leave the real world alone. Okay?
Yeah, if they do go out and venture outside of their rooms, it'll be to look for Pokemon crap.
Yeah, munchies after sitting around getting high. That's college has never changed. That's what college is. It's one big party. In line with that, before we go to break here, I'm going to give you a couple numbers here that I picked up today off of Rush Limbaugh's show that I think is kind of telling, defining on some things. And one of the things, somebody notified him, sent him an email. They counted the number of times Hillary Clinton nodded during Bernie Sanders' speech. And if you saw the speech, I saw a part of it, and she's like a bobblehead doll. She's just, everything he says, she's just got that smirky grin on her face and just nodding her head and everything else. 406 times Hillary Clinton nodded her head during what they call the crazy Bernie endorsement speech. And I think somebody even put a GIF out there that shows her just bobbing her head like a bobblehead doll. It's just, and that's pretty much what the Democrat nomination is going to be about. The true believers will be nodding their head like a bobblehead, and everybody else will be shaking their head like, my God, what's happening here? What's happened? Anyway, we got to go to break. When we come back, we'll get into today's festivities. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. Don't go away.
You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. Then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-790-5960. That's 1-800-790-5960. Again, 1-800-790-5960. Call now.
Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification require cancellation fee, auto pay, and paperless billing and other restrictions apply. If you can't see the difference, why pay the difference? Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Only Dish brings you the best in entertainment for less than $20 a month. Cut the cable and don't get directed. Switch to Dish because at just $19.99, Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. It's so simple. The same channels cost less with Dish. So since you can't see the difference, don't pay the difference. Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Get premium movie channels free for 3 months, starting at just $19.99. Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. Call now to save with Dish. Dial 1-800-600-1645. That's 1-800-600-1645. The same channels for less than $20 a month. Dish. Call 1-800-600-1645 for details.
Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardosa. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardosa Live Daily, Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decisions concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosalive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosalive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did.
Read something recently worth thinking about. It's the soldier, not the campus organizer, who's given us freedom to demonstrate. It's the soldier, not the reporter, who's given us freedom of the press. It's the soldier, not the poet, who's given us freedom of speech. It's the soldier who serves under the flag, who defends the protesters' right to burn the flag. Isn't it time now to demonstrate that we support our troops? Were it not for the brave, there'd be no land of the free.
Fred Thompson's message was brought to you by citizensunited.org.
Conservative Syndicate, Real Conservative Talk from Real Conservatives. I'm your host, John Matthews, along with Joe Hakos. And, you know, I want to start out with a kind of a question. I don't know if it's really worth dwelling too deep into as far as coming up with an answer. But I think it's, at least rhetorically, it's worth looking at. You know, one of the first articles that came up after the Dallas shooting was written by a young lady named Carol Lee. I believe it was some overseas, like The Guardian or somebody like that. And she had mentioned in this article that President Barack Obama, who at the time was in Warsaw with the NATO convention, referred to by the media as his farewell tour, out there dancing around with the UN bloc and the NATO bloc and all these other people. And it says here that President Barack Obama will cut short his overseas trip in response to the shooting of police officers in Dallas and now plans to visit the city early next week. The White House announced Friday Mr. Obama will finish a North Atlantic Treaty Organization summit in Poland on Saturday, fly to Spain as planned, but he will skip a stop in Seville, instead flying to Madrid for official meetings and visiting Naval Station Rota, that's in Spain, to address U.S. troops before returning to Washington Sunday evening. Now, the president has accepted an invitation from Dallas Mayor Mike Rawlings to travel to Dallas early next week. This is from White House Press Secretary Josh Earnest. Now, in his speech that he gave in Dallas, one of the things that Obama says during the speech, as he's getting into the Bailey portion of his speech, that is the real reason or the real agenda he has behind being there, he makes a statement. He says, now, I'm not naive. I have spoken at too many memorials during the course of this presidency. And he goes on to talk about he's hugged too many people and he's had to comfort too many people over these shootings and blah, blah, blah. And this is just shortly before he goes into this long, repetitive discourse about the need for gun control. But, you know, this surfaced in my mind. Think about this. Let's just think about this just for a minute here. I'm going to throw the hypothetical at you, Joe, but let me lay it out here, all right? How many other presidents have we had in the course of our lifetime that has attended so many events like this? Now, if what the left is telling us is true, if that's what the media is telling us is true, there have been far many more shootings of black people by cops than during Obama's administration. Now, it looks like more with Obama because every one of them gets covered. But when we really look at it in perspective, I looked statistics up, and there really is less shootings during Obama's administration than the previous four presidents.
Yeah.
Okay, now, if my question is, I don't remember ever hearing George W. Bush or Bill Clinton or H.W. Bush or Reagan or Jimmy Carter spending so much time traveling around the country, speaking at events like this, or funerals or memorials or whatever, or having press conferences about this stuff. And it made me wonder, how many times has Obama actually been asked to go to these things? or compared to maybe how many times has somebody in Obama's office called up whoever's in charge of this stuff and say, hey, the president would like to speak? Now, that's a hypothetical question, because I don't think people are actually asking Barack Obama to show up. In fact, I think in a couple of events, he was actually asked not to come because the people didn't want it politicized. And I can't recall them off the top of my head, and I may be talking about Al Sharpton or Jesse Jackson in that regard, but the point is that there have been certain memorials and gatherings and stuff like that. People have been shot, and after all the riots and everything started to simmer down a little bit, they have a funeral or something like that. I'm wondering, because to me it fits more into the narrative of Barack Obama using this stuff to advance his agenda than people saying, oh yeah, well, we've got this memorial coming up, let's see if the president's available to speak. What do you think?
Well, yeah, I think it's probably a little bit of both. But did he have to go? No, he didn't have to go to this, but he was invited. So the mayor asked him to be there. But and that's fine. What really bothered me about his speech yesterday was he started out just fine. He was, he was there. The purpose of the event was a memorial service for the slain officers in Dallas, gunned down by an assassin, basically. I'm not going to call him a sniper because, really, that's giving him way too much damn credit.
Yeah.
Okay, so he was just an assassin. And who assassinated these people, for lack of a better term. He just shot him and killed him. I heard the report today, the little 9-year-old girl talking about her dad, and it's just heartbreaking, actually. But Obama did the right thing. He started doing it, and then he just couldn't help himself. And he had to go into his, BS, like it's easier for kids to get a Glock than it is a book.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, for crying out loud. I mean, it's like he just can't help himself.
Well, that might be the case in Chicago. Well,
it's been 4,000 people shot in Chicago since he's been president.
Yeah, I understand.
Black people shooting black people.
Yeah. Well, my response to that kind of a comment is, in these inner city urban centers, it might be easier to get their hands on a gun than it would be a computer because most of them don't even go to school. You want to, but the point is, and now taking it back and blaming it on society rather than the real cause, which is a lack of discipline in the home, the broken homes, and everything else. And of course, that would also be attributed to white privilege and racism. The reason why are there so many black men incarcerated? Well, because they commit more crime. Why do they commit more crime? Well, proportionally, they come from broken homes. Okay, why does that happen? Well, it's because whitey makes it hard for them to make a living.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. So that it always
makes it easier for them to have not have daddies at home. It's just easier and more advantageous for them to have the government take care of them.
Right.
Don't tell me that's not a true statement either.
Right. Yeah. And so okay, a culture that's been conditioned to act this way by the very people that claim to be their saviors. See, when you say it's white society that causes this stuff, and rather than pointing your finger at where it's at, and that is the fact we've talked about this before, that in the major cities in this country, they're all run by Democrats. And when you look around today, most of them are people of color running the cities. Okay, even in a lot of cases now, the police chiefs are people of color. And I'm not trying to say that to downplay, or to try to insinuate that their cops are only good if they're not black. I'm not saying that, and I'm not even saying that there are that there are not good black politicians that do good things. I'm saying that when you look at the major centers in Atlanta, Detroit. You go back to Baltimore, all these major urban cities, They're being run by proportionately black leadership. And those people are what? They are the people that go to the government and say, we need this, we need this, we need that, we need this. We need more money for our schools. We need more money for our kids. We need more money for this. And all that money ends up going into the pockets of their special interests. And so it just becomes one thing over another. We have out here, there's 3 cities right around me, just in like a triangle around me out here. Compton, Bell Gardens, and Huntington Park. Not Huntington Beach, but Huntington Park. Very heavily populated black and Hispanic. The city councils on these in these cities are all black. The congressional districts, Maxine Waters, people like this running these districts or governing these districts or whatever they're doing, and the biggest corruption comes out of these 3. We just had last year, I believe 2 years ago, the entire city council of Bell Gardens was recalled for corruption. The entire council, not just 1 or 2, everybody. And it was because they were padding their pockets with money they were receiving from the government for programs that were supposed to be done in the city that weren't done.
Yeah, so let's bring this back to what Obama was doing yesterday. He's at this memorial service talking this stuff, and can you just imagine the 9-year-old girl is sitting in there listening to this thing about whatever. I'm sure she's hasn't got a clue what Obama's talking about because she's there still in shock that her dad's been killed by this guy.
Right.
And Obama's there going on and on and on with his, basically he could have talked for about 5 minutes and the rest of it was all his agenda.
Right. Yeah, I know. And that's one of the other interesting numbers here that I just caught on Limbaugh this morning. Obama, in his talk yesterday, I'm not even going to call it a speech. We'll just call it his remarks. I think that's how it's being referred to. His remarks in Dallas yesterday referred to himself 45 times in those remarks about who he is, what he sees, how he was raised, what he accomplished, all that kind of stuff. Okay, so it's all about, and that's what leads me back to what I was originally asking. I'm wondering how many of these times that he shows up at these things, he's actually been asked to go. I'll be honest with you.
Crashed the party.
Yeah, I don't even take this at face value that Mayor Mike Rawlings asked Barack Obama to go. I think let's Mayor Rawlings, let's just say he did ask him because what's the difference? What's he going to say? No, I mean, for crying out loud, the president's going to show up and wants to talk. Really? Well, see that you gave me the actual thought process that I'm thinking. Somebody calls up from the White House and says President Barack Obama would like to show up at the Dallas Memorial and speak. And the mayor says, oh, okay. And then the White House announces this as being invited. And is that mayor going to stand up in front of the cameras and say, no, I didn't actually invite him? No, he's not. He's going to just go with the flow. Okay, it's no big deal.
Exactly.
As you just said, it's no big deal. 6 of one, half a dozen another, when it actually isn't. Because of the fact that if Obama's out there inviting himself, one of the things I'm going to look up here probably tomorrow or whatever, the Charleston thing, where he went down to Charleston. Did they ask him to go down there? Or did he say he wanted to go? And see, I no longer take anything, literally anything that's being said by this administration as face value or otherwise as being the truth.
They don't deserve to have you take them at any kind of value because they have repeatedly and habitually lied.
Right.
There's no euphemism you can use. They have absolutely lied to the American people.
Yeah, we're not talking about stretching the truth or anything else. This is outright, blatant lying. And doing it with such confidence that nobody's going to catch them. And if they do get caught, even more confident you're not going to be able to do anything about it.
Yeah, they don't care. That's okay. We don't care.
No. I mean, there was talk today about the about the fact that, the left is upset with Obama because he's not going to the left far enough. And the comment was, he doesn't care. He doesn't care if he pisses off the left or he pisses off the right. He's got his agenda, period. And that's what it's all about. We got to go to break. When we come back, we'll continue right here at the Conservative Syndicate. Don't go away.
Hey, I'll make you a deal. Give me 60 seconds and I'll give you directions to the Fountain of Youth. Okay, I'm joking. Well, kind of joking. No fountains, but youth, I got. Nature's Youth and their premier anti-aging product, Nature's Youth RSF. With your sensible diet and exercise plan, Nature's Youth RSF can help you look and feel better. RSF is an all-natural amino acid supplement that supports your body to naturally increase HGH levels without any synthetic hormones. And elevated HGH levels can contribute to increased energy, improved libido, reduced body fat, and improved exercise capacity. Let's be honest, who doesn't want to look and feel younger? Visit the newly designed website at naturesyouth.com or call 800-333-6923. That's 800-333-6923 and like them on Facebook and you'll be included in contest and exclusive offers. What a deal. Oh, speaking of deals, my time's about up. 800-333-6923 or naturesyouth.com. Who needs a fountain anyway? Call today.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
When I had a heart attack at 42, I was not sure what the future held. But a year later, the doctors could find nothing wrong with me and took me off all my medication. What did I do? I took a herbal mixture of garlic, cayenne, and a few other herbs mixed in liquid form. I now call this Extendovite. I would have never believed that a few simple herbs could actually change my life like they did. Now it's your turn to see what the powers of garlic and cayenne can do for you. For only $69.95 plus shipping and handling for a 2-month supply of either capsules or liquid, you too can begin on your path to better health. For more information, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822. Or visit our website at heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
I've owned my company for 14 years now, and I can tell you that payroll is a 4-letter word. I hate doing it. It eats up hours I don't have, and it costs me money I could be saving. But my accountant's too expensive, and I'm not sure who to call, but I know I need help.
We're Paychex, and we take all the hassles out of small business payroll. We save you time and money. It's easy. Call, fax, or give us your payroll information securely online, and we take care of the rest. We calculate the correct taxes, manage payments and direct deposits. We even send out your checks. Payroll doesn't need to be a 4-letter word anymore. We're so sure that we can save you time and money that we'll give you a month's payroll free. Just for calling 877-663-3830. Get 1 month's payroll for free. Call Paychex right now. 877-663-3830. That's 877-663-3830.
Hey, I don't back anybody unless I believe in them. And I do believe in the value of investing in gold and silver. And the company I trust to buy my gold and silver from is Swiss America. I've been working with them for nearly a decade. I trust them, and you can too. Swiss America will help you sort through and find the best options available when you're considering investing in gold and silver coins. Listen, for over 30 years, Swiss America has been offering Americans what they want in their investments: safety, liquidity, quality, reliability, and a potential profit. Gold and silver have a place in every investor's portfolio. So, why not let Swiss America help you diversify your investment portfolio now? Call now for free information. 800-978-3907, 800-978-3907, 800-978-3907, 800-978-3907.
Hey, Bugsy, you hear the news about Vinny?
Yeah, it's a real shame he owed money to the IRS and they finally cut up with him.
Just like Al Capone.
If the IRS can get to Capone, imagine what they can do to little old Vinny, huh?
Poor cat, he was on top of the world, then bada boom, bada bing.
What Vinny needs now is an offer he can't refuse.
Hey, you got a tax problem? Does the IRS claim you owe them a bunch of dough? They can get you too. So call the tax relief line now and learn if you qualify to negotiate your $10,000 plus IRS tax debt for up to a 75% savings. Don't be like Al or Vinny and get busted. Make this free call now. Learn how you may be able to pay the IRS less.
Call now. 866-657-8474. 866-657-8474. 866-657-8474. 866-657-8474.
We're back. The Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives. I'm your host, John Matthews, along with Joe Hakos. And, it's kind of an open-ended question I was offering before the break here. How many of these eulogies has Barack Obama offered? How many of these events or whatever he's attended was he actually asked to go to? Now, it's not a question that we're ever going to get an answer to.
Oh, no.
Okay, and I'm not asking it for that reason. I'm bringing it up purely for one purpose and one purpose only, and that is to suggest that Barack Obama is using each and every one of these events that he can to, and like in Dallas, grouping them together. I mean, he did that before. He's done that before when he talks about things. He'll drag in other shootings from the past, the Newton kids and the Colorado theater and all this other stuff.
The Charleston thing, he brought it into this. It had nothing to do with this.
Yeah. So the idea that we're going to just collectively keep reminding America of what's going on out there, and then keep spinning it and skewing it to support his agenda, which is gun control, and that's all it is. It's not about anything else. It's all about wearing people down to the point where they just, okay, fine, give him what he wants, because that's what leftists really are. They're the screaming kids in the room throwing the temper tantrum until you finally just give them what they want, just to shut them up.
Well, yeah, you could. Well, you saw that again yesterday at the hearing that Loretta Lynch was in front of. What did the Democrats use that for? Well, to do their gun control spiels instead of going, Loretta, can you just answer a simple question, please?
Yeah, and during the Comey hearing or the House Oversight Committee, I remember that one guy, Congressman Clay, never even asked Comey anything other than, were you aware of the fact that Trump has ties with this white supremacist group out there, and he gave the name of it, and Comey's like, no, I never heard of them. And then he went on to expound about how Trump is a racist. It had nothing to do with anything that was going on there. Elijah Cummings the same way.
Yeah.
It's just, just carrying out that agenda. Oh, this is just a witch hunt. The Republicans are mad. They didn't get what they wanted, blah, 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 blah. And many of the Democrats that spoke at that hearing that I listened to didn't even focus on what the hearing was for. They just used it kind of like a mini filibuster. We're just going to talk, just to talk.
Used it because it's basically it's a campaign ad, for crying out loud.
Yeah. Now I can put it on YouTube,
like C-SPAN, so it's out there, and they can. And each one of their offices will just take their little clip and put it out there, put it on their websites, and spin it up. This is what the congressman or congresswoman has done for you today.
Yeah. Drop we made it to YouTube, okay? That kind of thing. By the way, another thing, you mentioned Loretta Lynch yesterday. Again, another numbers thing. 74 times yesterday, she said she didn't know. 74 times she was asked questions. 74 times she said, I don't know. Okay? So, it doesn't take a lot to be a Democrat. It really doesn't. You talk about yourself a lot. You say you don't know anything a lot. And you nod your head a lot when somebody's saying what you've told them to say. And that's all you need to be a Democrat. That's it. And that's like going to the polls, Democrats going to the polls to vote for Hillary Clinton. That's what it's going to be. You're just going to line up like bobbleheads. You might as well nod your head as you go in and out of the poll. And they'll all give you a cookie, on your way out, that kind of thing.
Yeah, if they could just, as they walked out the door and walked into a flaming pit of lava, it would be great. But no, they're destroying the country in the process.
Right, and not even knowing it. And by the time it comes out, see, these people really do not understand that if the left is able to pull off what they're planning to pull off, and when we get talking about the platform a little later, we'll kind of highlight some of this stuff for you. But if they're able to pull it off, who do you think the very first people are going to feel the brunt end of all this? Do you think it's going
know exactly who's going to feel the brunt of it, and it's kind of funny as I'm looking at an article that Hillary Clinton did with Vox.
Okay, what's it say?
And it's going to be the middle class.
Yeah, the very class that everybody thinks needs to be rebuilt. It doesn't need to be rebuilt. It needs to be left alone.
Thank you. Leave it the hell alone.
If you just leave it alone, most people in America, in the middle class, working middle class, let me clarify that. Working middle class, well, you can't be in a middle class if you're not working, but anyway, can figure things out for themselves. They know how to do budgets. They know they're responsible enough to show up to work. They know how to teach their kids right from wrong. And Obama needs to rebuild the middle class. The left needs to rebuild the middle class. Now, what they need to do is they need to tear it down and put it into that category where we say, okay, the middle class and the impoverished are now all at the same level, and therefore everybody now has to feed off of the government, and because that's the only option you're going to have. You think about what's going on here, the healthcare situation, as we pointed out yesterday. Nationalizing healthcare. That's where it's headed. That's a little backdoor thing that's going on right now. Nobody's talking a whole lot about, but we're going to talk about it because it's in the Democratic platform, believe it or not, now. This idea of single-payer system. And then we talk about the nationalized police force. That's what Obama wants here, nationalized police force in line with disarming American citizens. And boy, you have the perfect society for tyrants. Nobody can defend themselves, and everybody's dependent on the government. Well, it doesn't get any better than that if you're a tyrant. I mean, that's what they all worked for. And they all did it the same way. They all used populist arguments, came out and told the people what they wanted to hear. The people demonized the people that were in power. The people were dumb, stupid, and ignorant and followed them. And then by the time everybody started figuring out what was going on, it was too late, because they had no way to stand against it. So, yeah, okay. Now, I heard something the other day. Rachel Maddow stated that she is now studying Hitler so that she can get ready for a Trump presidency. And I'm thinking, man, you're about 8 years too late. You should start reading about 8 years ago.
Yeah. Welcome to the party, Rachel.
Yeah. So,
thanks.
Anyway, let's get into the topic here that will kind of encompass everything that we've been talking about today and everything we'll talk about the rest of the show. We introduced to you yesterday an article written by David French over at National Review, Black Lives Matter, Radicals Using Moderates to Help Tear America Apart. And in there was a mention of a strategy that is, I guess, the term is used amongst conservative thinkers. That's what he referred to it to. I would think it would probably be Republican thinkers more than conservative thinkers, because I've never heard the term before. Whereas people at National Review, they're one of the biggest no-Trumpsters out there right now. So maybe they're trying to once again brand themselves as conservatives. But we'll leave that argument for another day. What I'm getting at here is they talk about this, this strategy or tactic. It's a tactic within a strategy. The strategy is Alinskyite. The strategy with Alinsky is this. I think it's rule number 8 in Rules for Radicals. And that is to never let one particular issue control the narrative for too long. And you've got to keep mixing it up. You've got to keep everybody off balance. And in doing so, what you have to do is they have to employ this tactic called the Mott and Bailey. And the Mott and Bailey is simply this. The Bailey is your end game agenda. It's where you really want to go. And the Mott is the safe space you retreat to when the Bailey becomes too hot, heated, controversial, when you get too close to being exposed to to what it is you actually want to do or what you want to say, then you retreat back to the safe haven of the common language or the doublespeak that we talk about on this show, that calms everybody down and kind of gets everybody thinking back in that one train of thought. Yeah, we have to make the world a better place.
So really, for rules for radicals, what we're talking about, I think, would be more like rule number 12. The price of a successful attack is a constructive alternative. Never let the enemy score points because you're caught without a solution to the problem.
Okay, all right. I'll go with that. I was looking at, when I was reviewing last night, I was thinking rule number 8 about never let anything become too embedded in people's minds. What I mean by that is, if people think too long about what you're really saying.
Eight is keep the pressure on, never let up.
Right.
Trying new things, keep the opposition off balance.
Right. And so if people have too much time to digest what's going on, they begin to figure out what's going on.
Yeah, and then the one before that, number 7, is a tactic that drags on too long becomes a drag.
Right.
Don't become old news.
Right. So the Mott and Bailey is, you have a moment when you can really zing them and say, this is what I really want, but you have to use the Mott to neutralize that if people get too bent out of shape about it. We got to go to a quick break here. When we come back, we're going to get more into Barack Obama's comments yesterday, and day before yesterday. Was it yesterday? It was yesterday. Because it's a beautiful example of Mott and Bailey being employed at the same time. It's beautiful. The way I hate to use that word, but it was great in the way that he designed it. The content of it sucked, but the plan and the strategy and the tactics you'll see as we get into it. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. Don't go away.
You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardosa. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardosa Live Daily, Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decisions concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosalive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosalive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did.
Read something recently worth thinking about. It's the soldier, not the campus organizer, who's given us freedom to demonstrate. It's the soldier, not the reporter, who's given us freedom of the press. It's the soldier, not the poet, who's given us freedom of speech. It's the soldier who serves under the flag, who defends the protesters' right to burn the flag. Isn't it time now to demonstrate that we support our troops? Were it not for the brave, there'd be no land of the free.
Fred Thompson's message was brought to you by citizensunited.org.
Visit our website, theconservativesyndicate.net. Pick up this show, any of our archives out there, any of our shows. Find out what you need to know about our panel, what we do in the show, why we do it. Theconservativesyndicate.net. And you will be impressed. Guarantee it. Promise you, guarantee it.
Yeah, all right. You better be there or else. That's it. We'll send our minions after you.
Okay, now, getting back to Obama's comments yesterday, one of the things that I want to comment on throughout the duration of our conversation today is the several references that Obama made from scriptures.
Oh, gee.
okay? And, I caught this. I can't think of anybody in the public arena right now that can bastardize Scripture better than Barack Obama. Maybe Joel Osteen, but Barack Obama is great at it. He's great at taking Scripture out of context to fit whatever narrative it is he wants in terms of whatever it is he's trying to advance at the moment. He did it great. Remember the prayer breakfast where he chastised Christians? Talked about how we're not innocent of the things that we do as Christians or the things that we believe as Christians. And actually, I had an article here. I don't know. I may refer to it maybe before the week's over here, out of the American Thinker that was published back in 2014 that has like 20 quotes he made about Islam compared to 20 quotes he made about Christianity. And you basically can read them and you can tell where his loyalty really lies.
See, he was praising Christianity and he was chastising Islam.
No, it was the other way around.
Oh.
But even saying that, I may refer to that sometime during the week here because it's interesting. But people have asked me many, many times, do I think Barack Obama is a Christian or a Muslim?
Doesn't matter.
I say he's neither. He's a Marxist, okay? And the religion is just something that is a useful tool, and he uses it. He's a commie chameleon.
I'd be happy if he was an American.
Yeah.
In his heart, an American.
Yeah,
I don't mean by he's a birther out there. There's birthers. No. I mean American in his heart.
Yeah. I don't really care where he was born at this point. It's moot. But, yeah, it would be nice if he actually talked like the American. And whenever he does something, in fact, he did it in these remarks. He says, I know what it's like to be an American. I am an American. I know what it's like to be American. And he goes down this list of things like, there's nothing American about what you just said.
Yeah.
Okay? So anyway, as Joe mentioned earlier, Obama started out kind of good. His initial comments. But in his initial comments, he also, that's where I noticed he was bastardizing religion or the scriptures, okay? Now, let me put it to you this way. He says out here, I'm going to read the first couple of paragraphs here of his opening statements, his opening remarks here. He says, Mr. President and Mrs. Bush, he's referring to George W. Bush, my friend the Vice President and Dr. Biden, Mayor Rawlings, Chief Stiller, clergy, members of Congress, Chief Brown. I'm so glad I met Michelle first because she loves Stevie Wonder. Ah ha ha, everybody laughed, okay, it's a joke. And he then goes on to say this, Scripture tells us that in our sufferings there is glory. Because we know that suffering produces perseverance, character, and character hope. Sometimes the truths of these words are hard to see. Right now, those words test us because the people of Dallas, people across the country, are suffering. All right, now, what Obama was quoting there was a verse out of Romans. Romans, chapter 5, verse 1, and the entire contextual scripture is verses 1 through 4. I'm going to read you this scripture, and then I'll tell you why I believe he took it out of context and literally bastardized it. Romans 5, chapter 5, verse 1. Therefore, having been justified by faith, we have peace with God through our Lord Jesus Christ, through whom also we have access by faith into this grace in which we stand, and rejoice in hope of the glory of God. And not only that, but we also glory in tribulations, knowing that tribulation produces perseverance, and perseverance character, and character hope. Now, the first thing you have to understand about Romans, as many of the other books in the Bible, is that Paul wrote these words to believers. He refers to them as brethren. So anytime you're reading anything in context of Paul writing to the church, and he writes statements like this, he is addressing people who have a faith in Jesus Christ as Lord and Savior, and the only way to God, the only true religion, everything else. Now, Obama has discounted Christianity many times. As I said, I can probably give a lot of quotes here. I won't do it right now because I just want to make this one point before we go to the break. And he refers to the glory. He says there is glory in suffering. But in the scripture it says the glory of God. It refers specifically to the glory of God. So this whole idea, what he's basically saying is that we should glory in these tribulations, these times, because what's happening here is we're actually being tested. We're not being tested. Okay, we're not being tested. We're being attacked.
Yes.
This is not an issue of faith in the sense that the everyday, day-to-day trials and tribulations that come into our lives, those are the things that test us. This incident in Dallas, racial hatred, all these things, these are not tests from God. These are attacks from an enemy that wants to divide and conquer. The Bible tells us what? A house divided against itself will fall, and that fall will be great. So there it is. There it is. It's not very out of context. There are other scriptures here that are very much similar to this, and you see the same thing. In James, he says, count it all joy when you fall into various trials, knowing that the testing of your faith produces patience. But let patience have its perfect work, that you may be perfect or mature and complete, lacking nothing. In 2 Peter, he says, his divine power is given to us all things that pertain to life and godliness through the knowledge of him who called us by glory and virtue, and which have been given to us exceedingly great and precious promises, that through these you may be partakers of the divine nature, having escaped the corruption that is in the world. So all these are references in the Bible to people of God or the church. Do you think for 1 minute that Barack Obama was going to stand up in front of that crowd yesterday and mention that these scriptures or his statement here was referring to Jesus Christ? No way. No way was that going to happen. It was something that he pulled out because it sounds flowery. It was the moat. Make everything sound good and spiritual and deep and everything else. And while we're doing all that, he's setting them up. That's what he did yesterday. He opened up this speech by setting everybody up. Let's lull them into an attitude of complacency. Let's get that kumbaya going, and then we'll turn around and we'll slam them after that. Is that what you saw, Joe?
Yeah, it's yes, exactly. It was like, here, I'm going to set you up for the punchline here, and to hear these people today say, yeah, he set the tone. It was like a Gettysburg Address or Winston Churchill talking to the British people to never give up, and other great addresses that we've known throughout the history. This was not one of those.
No. This was. I saw it as just kind of lulling the crowd into this place where everything else that he was going to throw at him, and then interspersed with other statements like this.
Well, and then you get, he was trying to do so good, and it's like, no, he wasn't really doing that, and because it's like, oh, he's really trying. No, he's not really trying. And I'm sorry, we're going to have to probably get out of here. But we can pick this up after the top of the hour. I know we can.
Yeah, we got to go to our break here. When we get back, we're gonna, because there's several times he references scriptures here, and every single one of them are out of context. Yeah. I'm not going to make a big deal about it. I'm not going to every single one. I'm just going to point things out to you that this is the moat. That's my point. It's the moat. Yeah. It's getting you and luring you or lulling you into a calm state so that he can throw you the zinger, and it has minimal impact on you. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. It's time for the Edwards Notebook.
Between President Obama and Mrs. Clinton, America is in a very dangerous position. Hello, I'm Ron Edwards. On today's page from the Edwards Notebook, it's bad enough that President Obama has whittled down our one-time totally superior military to levels below that of before World War II. During the period of time Ali Obama took to dismantle America's military prowess, highly competitive nations like China, Russia, North Korea, and even Iran have built up their militaries that now dwarf our one-time vastly superior armed forces. When one considers Mrs. Clinton's rampant mishandling of thousands of emails, at least 100 of which were classified and were most likely hacked and acquired by enemy nations and even terrorist groups, the FBI director chose to give Mrs. Clinton a pass despite what he described as gross negligence. But I have a big problem with that because in this case of gross negligence, our republic could be more vulnerable than ever to the blackmailing of American political figures and undetected military aggression. That should have been given more consideration, considering the fact that Mrs. Clinton could be chosen as leader of the free world. I'm Ron Edwards.
Blowing away the myths and revealing the truth. You can continue to blow away the myths with Ron Edwards on Facebook, Twitter, and the Ron Edwards.
You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live Daily, Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decisions concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosolive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosolive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did.
Read something recently worth thinking about. It's the soldier, not the campus organizer, who's given us freedom to demonstrate. It's the soldier, not the reporter, who's given us freedom of the press. It's the soldier, not the poet, who's given us freedom of speech. It's the soldier who serves under the flag, who defends the protesters' right to burn the flag. Isn't it time now to demonstrate that we support our troops? Were it not for the brave, there'd be no land of the free.
Fred Thompson's message was brought to you by citizensunited.org.
Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification require cancellation fee, auto pay, and paperless billing, and other restrictions apply. If you can't see the difference, why pay the difference? Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Only Dish brings you the best in entertainment for less than $20 a month. Cut the cable and don't get directed. Switch to Dish because at just $19.99, Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. It's so simple. The same channels cost less with Dish. So since you can't see the difference, don't pay the difference. Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Get premium movie channels free for 3 months, starting at just $19.99. Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. Call now to save with Dish. Dial 1-800-600-1645. That's 1-800-600-1645. The same channels for less than $20 a month. Dish. Call 1-800-600-1645 for details.
Hey, all you can do is just tell the truth and trust in the American people that over time they're going to know what the truth is.
Yes, it is time for the truth. Right here, right now. This is the Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives. With your host, John Matthews.
The latter-day prophet. Baying against the hypocrisies of our time.
And Joe Hakos.
You want answers. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
The Conservative Syndicate is comprised of some of the most informed pundits and activists available today. Together, we seek to tear down the imaginary wall, a separation between church and state through education, information, and engagement on the religion of politics and the politics of religion. And now, your hosts on the globally syndicated Conservative Syndicate, John Matthews and Joe Hakos.
Okay, hey, we're back. We're back. You're listening to the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives. And I am your host along with Joe Hakos. And we're doing what we do best in this show, and that is to educate, inform, and engage you, our listening audience, on the politics of religion and the religion of politics. And we're talking about the Moat and Bailey, which we brought up yesterday. Probably, I guess, maybe just for the purpose, I keep using the term because I want our audience to become familiar with it, but you might recognize it more if we used more common terms or phrases used in society. It would be doublespeak, how we refer to it, liberal doublespeak. The ability to say something that sounds like one thing but to mean another.
Or as Obama would say, the okie doke.
Yeah, the okie doke, okay? And but I think the more common phrase would be bait and switch. And that is, you bait people. Let me use a lesson I learned in Tom Hopkins. I don't know if you know who Tom Hopkins is, but he's a guy that decades ago I used to follow. This guy. He's a salesman. He's kind of like a Tony Robbins kind of guy. Teaches you how to sell and stuff like that. And he had this method that he called the 7 yeses. And the idea is to get the client to say yes 7 times during the course of your dialogue with them, and that would make it easier for them to say yes when you pop the big question. Do you want to sign here, kind of thing. And you would say something like, if you were buying a car, okay, and the person's looking at the car, and maybe the person says something like, geez, that looked really good in blue, okay, and so your response would be, oh, would you like the car? Would you like the car better if it was in blue? Okay, so the client says yes. Okay, so the idea is that through a series of questions and comments, you would be able to lead the client to a place where you say, well, are you ready to sign? And they would say yes. Well, that's really what the bait and switch is. So that's what the Moat and Bailey is. It's a way of it's a strategy or a tactic used to implement in the strategy of getting people to buy into the narrative. And the way that you get them to buy into the narrative is through a series of admissions to things that don't really deal directly with what it is you want them to agree with, but you build them up through the course of statements to that place where when you finally lay the zinger on them, they really almost without even thinking will go, yeah, okay. And so that's how you get people into the leftist narrative that don't really want to participate in it. You use the moat. You lay the, let's all sing Kumbaya. Let's change our national anthem to I'd like to teach the world to sing, that kind of stuff. And you lull them into this state of mind that when you finally say something to them that would normally be controversial or contrary to what they actually believe or think, they'll just jump on board and go with you. Okay, so that's really what we're talking about here. And I think it's important because this is how the left operates, and this is how they've been able to advance themselves so quickly and to a great degree. And then the other side of it is, it's why the people on the right, or the Republicans in particular, have no answer. Because the Republicans don't know how to do this. They don't know how to lead people from point A to point B through a series of comments or questions or ideas or anything else. They just think, well, the idea is that if we just leave everything alone, it'll fix itself. People will figure out that Obama's a Marxist. Oh, no, they haven't figured that out yet. Even your own party hasn't figured it out yet. People in your own party, you guys haven't figured it out yet. So anyway, that's what I got to say about that. Anyway, back here with the time that we have left here. As Joe mentioned earlier about how Obama lulled people into this or set them up. He starts out with these, the reference to Scripture. We're here to honor the memory and mourn the loss of 5 fellow Americans. Of course, it ended up being 7 to 10 Americans by the time he got done. But, talked about protecting and serving. All these words are things, they're buzzwords that everybody would hear, probably be sitting there nodding their head to. Yeah, you're right. Then he goes through and he lists the officers that were slain. and tells a little bit about each one. Now, that is so slick, don't you think, Joe? I wonder who did the research on that. Because you know damn well it wasn't Obama.
Yeah, he had his minions doing it, for crying out loud.
Yeah, maybe Ben Rhodes had somebody look it all up,
That was all to make him seem more personal about it.
Right.
Because he couldn't go into his usual agenda right out the gate, because then people would have seen right through it really easily. But since he put this little smoke screen up in front of it, and then when he got to his agenda, people were either asleep or didn't notice, one or the other.
Right, yeah. I call them the human shields. These are the human shields. They were floated out there to get everybody, again, just kind of off-centered.
Well, I mean, just compare and contrast. You saw what George Bush did when he was up there. He spoke before Obama, and it was like 5 minutes long. Mm-hmm. And he went through and he did. I heard it on the radio today. And that's how short it was. It was like, wow, okay, it's very, very, very to the point. Very on point. It was, it was there. It was more uplifting. It was. Especially the last line or so of his speech. I'll let the listeners go and do that one. Go find it, and you'll see what I'm saying.
Right.
And compare that with what Barack Obama did, which is like, no.
Yeah, and you know what the people, the media,
anybody.
You know what the media's out there hyping up right now is that I guess at the end of the service they were singing and they were all holding hands. And George W. Bush was actually dancing. He was swaying back and forth, and you could see the looks on him. He was holding Michelle Obama's hands, and you can see the look in her face. It's like that look she had that one time when she said, "All this over an effing flag."
Yeah, exactly.
It was that kind of a thing. And he's just swaying. He starts swaying. They're all kind of swaying with the music, but then he kind of gets into it, and he starts bobbing a little bit and everything. And it's like, hey. I think that's a great thing to do at a funeral. To get, that's more uplifting than sitting there hanging our head, let's cry in our beer and everything else, because it is in a way a celebration of passing from this world to the next. So, of course, the circumstances were not great, but those who are in heaven right now could care less what we think. Okay, let's put things in proper perspective. We got to go to a break. When we come back, we'll get into the Baileys of the speech yesterday, and how he intertwined the Baileys and the moats, the bait and switch, the liberal double speak. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. Don't go away. Hey, on Moments of Madness. FBI Director James Comey's decision to avoid displacing Donald Trump as America's #1 racist sexist by choosing not to recommend criminal charges for gross negligence be brought against presumptive presidential nominee Hillary Clinton may indeed be mystifying and confusing to House Oversight Committee Chairman Jason Chaffetz and other Republican members of the committee. Given the GOP's disconnect with their constituents, it's not all that surprising. Likewise, among constituents who argued term limits is the only answer for complacency that breeds corruption, Comey's sidestepping of the obvious by responding Clinton may not have been sophisticated enough to recognize she was breaking the law in response to members of the committee like North Carolina's Representative Mark Meadows, who stated as someone who has only been here a few years, he recognizes and understands the importance of classified markings, along with Wyoming's Cynthia Loomis's bewildering comment, how could she not know this stuff? Coupled with South Carolina's Trey Gowdy's assertion, Clinton perjures herself on enough occasions to establish willful intent, and hiding treasonous malfeasance is as frustrating as it gets. But all this bewilderment, wonder, and frustration is not as befuddling as GOP operatives are expressing, or the media lapdogs want us to believe. Comey's decision really should not surprise anyone who spends any time surveying the toxic cloud that hangs over Washington, D.C., like discolored smog encompassing Los Angeles after too many days without rain to cleanse the air. Comey's presumption, no reasonable prosecutor would bring such a case against Clinton based on the historical precedent. No one has been prosecuted in nearly a century under the definition of the statute Clinton may have violated, is rightfully recognized as the weakest of excuses, especially when challenged by committee members who stated they knew plenty of attorneys who would take the case. But when placed in context by qualifying it during the hearing, no prosecutor for the Justice Department would take on such a case, it becomes quite understandable. Who would agree to put their employer on trial, especially this employer? Agreeing to prosecute Hillary Clinton would place America's first half-white president squarely in the crosshairs of his opponents, as he would certainly be interviewed and even possibly asked to testify. This puts at risk the legacy of Obama, who for all intended purposes headed to world domination at the UN after he leaves office next year. Such circumstances may not prevent Obama from eventually touting his hope and change globalization agenda as the way to unify the world's tyrants, but it might delay it. Does anyone really think in today's political reality any attorney hoping to make a career in political law would risk their future taking on their current boss, much less face the prospect of having to deal with their future boss, one who has a history of destroying everything she lays her hand to, including the long list of those who no longer dwell on this earth due to their association with the Clintons? Can we really blame FBI Director Comey to suddenly give a hoot about politics? Here's the madness. Just as the Committee on Benghazi muffed bringing justice to the families of those killed in Benghazi by focusing on stand-down orders that may or may not have been given or may not have saved lives, instead of focusing on the gun running to Syrian dissidents that would have better revealed the intent of Obama's refusing to act for fear of reprisal in the 2012 election, the House Oversight Committee will focus on perjury charges that will only lead back to a subjective argument of intent, one guaranteed to just make the GOP look even more politically inept. Of much more concern to the committee should be Comey's assessment of Hillary's qualifications. Comey testified before the Oversight Committee his unwillingness to recommend indicting Clinton was more guided by his perception her understanding of protocol and recognition of classified information may have lacked the sophistication necessary in the handling of such information. In other words, the intent her opponents want established is canceled out by her lack of knowledge in regard to what she knew and did not know. Whether or not this assessment is true or accurate is inconsequential. Comey's assessment is a double-edged sword that, if brandished properly, would cut both ways in the court of public opinion, the only court at this point that matters. Continuing to disseminate Comey's remarks on Clinton's lack of sophistication through ads and weekend circuit soundbites will force Clinton to eventually admit one of two truths. Either she is sophisticated enough to know how to handle classified information, which would in turn validate the charge of perjury and establish intent to hide the truth, or support the contention she'd be disqualified for office if she and her supporters continue to claim she simply believed she did nothing wrong. Comey's presumption she lacks knowledge becomes a damning argument against the experience accredited to her 4+ decades in public service. In his speech, the last lecture, given at Carnegie Mellon University in 2008 and later expounded upon in his book by the same name, computer science professor Randy Pausch stated, "Experience is what you get when you don't get what you want." If Pausch's contention is true, then perhaps Hillary Clinton is indeed the most qualified person ever to run for political office. No one has done less longer than anyone else and has nothing to show for it. Hillary Clinton's tenure in politics can be best defined as doing the same thing over and over many times rather than producing results over many years of effort. In other words, Hillary Clinton actually has 1 year of experience 40+ times rather than 40+ years in public service. Her sophistication, or lack of it, is the most compelling choice before voters today. But alas, at this juncture, the most important question Clinton puts before the electorate is, at this point, what difference does it make? This is John Matthews for Moments of Madness. All right, hey, we're back, and you are listening to the Conservative Syndicate, Real Conservative Talk from Real Conservatives, and I'm your host, John Matthews, along with Joe Hakos. And, I'm looking here at a post here on my Facebook page. If you use a funeral service to push a political agenda and elevate the violent group responsible for the deaths of those for whom the service is being held, you rank among the most despicable human beings on earth. Yes, I would agree wholeheartedly, and that certainly is what our president did yesterday. It is beyond despicable. at this point, who's the most despicable out there? Is it Hillary Clinton or is it Barack Obama?
I think they're running neck and neck, though. Yeah, I can tell you that.
I wonder.
I don't know. That most honest guy in politics, Bernie Sanders, is right up there right now too. As a matter of fact.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look at what he's done. He turned around, he had all them youngins all fired up to go against the establishment. We must stop these people. We must get money out of politics. Oh, my, those poor youngins. Maybe they learned a little lesson that...
welcome to the real world.
Hello. Yeah.
Yeah. Trump's not looking so bad right now with his self-funding, is it? Is he? Yeah, I wonder how many people are now contacting the Sanders campaign. Hey, I want a refund.
Yeah, right. That's going to happen.
Oh, yeah. But, yeah, he sold those kids down the tubes, man.
But, no, let's see. I think Obama and Clinton are really, really, really close because, I look back on September 11th. What was that, 2012?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. They were both pretty much neck deep in it. Let's go with that.
Yeah. All right. Now, let me get back here to our narrative for the day.
Yeah. Let's do that. Yeah.
Okay. After sitting here yesterday, like you said, setting everybody up for the Bailey. The Bailey being the switch. Okay, he's baiting everybody. He's got everybody lulled into this, complacent state of mind. Yeah, it's all about unity. It's all about love. It's all about sacrifice and dedication and commitment. He touched on all those spaces one way or the other. Okay, he ends up, after going through the 5 officers, giving a little brief, short bio on each one. He ends it by saying, like police officers across the country, these men and their families shared a commitment to something larger than themselves. Now that's that in liberal speak, that's double speak. You and I hear that, and we understand what's meant by that. Okay, but words run through a liberal translator means they were into collectivism, because that's the message in collectivism. It's all about sacrificing yourself for the collective. It's all about the bigger picture. It's all about doing everything you can to make sure that everybody else has equal opportunity and the same opportunity that you have. And if that means you giving up what you've achieved or what you've earned or what you've got in your pot, you've got to give some of that up. And that's what he means when he says larger than themselves. He's not talking about anything other than the narrative. And that narrative is, of course, the collective thought, the collective ideology, the collective way of looking at things.
Yeah,
it's all about sacrifice. It's all about giving up what you have so that somebody else can have some of it. And in the process of doing that, we all become equal. Okay? Yeah. Now, he goes, I'm sorry, go ahead. Now, here's the statement here. Here's the real moat here. I'll get your comment on this, Joe. He says, no. He goes a little bit talking about, he says, they weren't looking for their names to be up in lights. They'd tell you the pay was decent but wouldn't make you rich. They could have told you about the stress and long shifts. And they'd probably agree with Chief Brown when he said that cops don't expect to hear the words thank you very often, especially from those who need them the most. No, here it is.
Oh, yeah, this is the best part right here.
The reward comes in knowing that our entire way of life in America depends on the rule of law.
Okay, this is Barack Obama, who has decided to, if I don't like the law, I'm not going to enforce the law or administer it or execute that law as I'm supposed to do according to my oath of office.
Yeah, right. And because Congress won't do what I want and they're not acting fast enough, and then I'll just use executive orders. But just that statement in and of itself, that's the moat. See, that's the language that we would all hear. That's the doublespeak. We all hear that, and we understand that, and we would agree with it. The reward comes in knowing that our entire way of life in America depends on the rule of law. And, of course, if we don't like the law, what do? We just change it either through the courts or through executive order or by throwing sit-ins in the middle of Congress until we get our way.
or we block streets and highways and bridges.
Right. And we disrupt people's lives, and we destroy property, and we set up burn zones. Yeah, there it is.
We throw cement blocks at the people, the very people that Mr. Obama is praising right now.
Yeah. Now here's one that really kind of grabs you here. The last part of that.
Yeah.
That the maintenance of that law is a hard and daily labor. That in this country we don't have soldiers in the streets or militias setting the rules. Now, let me just make a real quick comment here.
Okay.
One of the comments that was floated out there on Twitter was by somebody who was a member of the new Black Panther Party. Okay, and the comment that this person tweeted out there, I think he's the head. He's currently the head of the new Black Panther Party. Okay, and I'm scrolling down here through my notes to see if I can find it. But basically what he said was the day will come when Micah Johnson will be celebrated for what he did. Okay? Think about that just for a minute. Okay, the rule of law and everything else that we're talking about here. That must be in my other notes here. Okay, I don't have it in front of me. But I remember reading it. The head of the new Black Panther Party. Now, here's the deal. This guy, Micah Johnson, was a member of, the new head of the Black Panther Party, and they are described as a black militia. Did you know there was a black militia out there?
There's a black militia?
A black militia.
Wow, okay. That would be like calling the Ku Klux Klan the white militia then.
I guess, but if it's a black militia, there would be no racial overtones in that because obviously they're the black militia to protect themselves against the white militias or the, whitey. So, that's understandable. In the context of everything Obama says, that's understandable. That, as he said here in his comments about, it's understandable why there's so much fear and there's so much activism out there, and some people are so afraid, and they're all this other stuff. So the idea of a black militia, that doesn't seem quite as damning as a Tea Party militia. Okay, people that will go down to stand against the government, the land thing, the thing with the Bundys. What was it called?
That was BLM too, but that was the Bureau of Land Management.
Right, Bureau of Land Management. That's what I was thinking of. Okay, but that's a different thing. But anyway, Micah Johnson was following this black militia on Facebook. Okay, and I'll find the notes here somewhere. Maybe during the break. I don't want to sit here and stutter and stammer while I'm trying to find it here. I think it's in my other notes. But anyway, the point being is. We're getting back here to the notes. I got to get back here to the notes. I've lost my place because I'm scrolling through everything trying to find that one little...
We have public servants, police officers like the men who were taken away from us. And that's what these 5 were doing last Thursday when they were assigned to protect and keep orderly a peaceful protest in response to the killing of Alton Sterling of Baton Rouge and Philandro Castile of Minnesota. They were upholding the constitutional rights of this country. Oh, yes, Mr. Alton Sterling, who was a convicted sex offender.
Right. Okay, so even if that's what this is about, given that, these protests were in response to the killing of Alton Sterling and Philandro Castile. Even if that is the case, and it was the case, we know that. I mean, he's not misstating facts here. Why did that have to be brought up? Why did they have to be brought up by name? Because he had to equate their killings at the same level as the cops. He had to. See, the collective idea here. As I said before, you've got to kind of somewhere in this, you've got to take all the different elements and you've got to combine it into one type of narrative. And what he's saying here is basically, it's tragic that both these other men were shot or killed in Baton Rouge and Minnesota, to the same degree that it's tragic that 5 cops were killed in the line of duty protecting people protesting about 2 deaths that nobody really even knows what the cause of right now. At this point in time, there still is no known cause I saw the video the other day of the guy that was supposedly shot point blank. That would be Alton Sterling, that he was wrestled to the ground by a couple of cops. And I saw the other. There was 2 videos. The only one you see in the media is the one that looks like the cop just pulls his gun out and shoots him. But I saw one. I think Newsmax had it, and they showed it, and it was from a different angle. And the suspect was reaching into his right pocket trying to pull a gun. They found a gun on him. See, that's not being reported. He was trying to reach into his pocket to get a gun, and you could hear the cop telling him, stop it, or, let it, stop it, and then that's when the shots are fired. But that's not being played. The only video that's being played is the 15-second clip out there from the angle where the only thing you see is the back of the cop, and you see the gun come out and the guy gets shot. So the idea, but the point being here is that equating the murders of the police officers with the killings of the 2 suspects, and we don't even know the facts behind it. We don't know really what happened, what caused these cops to pull their guns out and shoot these guys. Okay? So we don't know. So anyway.
Well, we do know what caused the death of the 5 cops in Dallas.
Yeah, we do know how they died, and we do know why they died.
Yes, we do, don't we?
Okay.
And it's not the same rationale. I can tell you that right now.
Yeah.
And to equate these citizens with the other citizens, I don't know.
Yeah. We got to go to break. When we come back, we'll continue here because Obama does this more than once. He categorizes everything into the same category. That's the moat. And again, setting them up for the Bailey. We'll get more into the Baileys when we get back. We'll be right back.
State Talk Radio, WRS Cleveland.
Hey, I'll make you a deal. Give me 60 seconds and I'll give you directions to the Fountain of Youth. Okay, I'm joking. Well, kind of joking. No fountains, but youth, I got. Nature's Youth and their premier anti-aging product, Nature's Youth RSF. With your sensible diet and exercise plan, Nature's Youth RSF can help you look and feel better. RSF is an all-natural amino acid supplement that supports your body to naturally increase HGH levels without any synthetic hormones. And elevated HGH levels can contribute to increased energy, improved libido, reduced body fat, and improved exercise capacity. Let's be honest. Who doesn't want to look and feel younger? Visit the newly designed website at naturesyouth.com or call 800-333-6923. That's 800-333-6923 and like them on Facebook and you'll be included in contest and exclusive offers. What a deal. Oh, speaking of deals, my time's about up. 800-333-6923 or naturesyouth.com. Who needs a fountain anyway? Call today.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
When I had a heart attack at 42, I was not sure what the future held. But a year later, the doctors could find nothing wrong with me and took me off all my medication. What did I do? I took a herbal mixture of garlic, cayenne, and a few other herbs mixed in liquid form. I now call this Extendovite. I would have never believed that a few simple herbs could actually change my life like they did. Now it's your turn to see what the powers of garlic and cayenne can do for you. For only $69.95 plus shipping and handling for a 2-month supply of either capsules or liquid, you too can begin on your path to better health. For more information, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822. Or visit our website at heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
I've owned my company for 14 years now, and I can tell you that payroll is a 4-letter word. I hate doing it. It eats up hours I don't have, and it costs me money I could be saving. But my accountant's too expensive, and I'm not sure who to call, but I know I need help.
We're Paychex, and we take all the hassles out of small business payroll. We save you time and money. It's easy. Call, fax, or give us your payroll information securely online, and we take care of the rest. We calculate the correct taxes, manage payments and direct deposits. We even send out your checks. Payroll doesn't need to be a 4-letter word anymore. We're so sure that we can save you time and money that we'll give you a month's payroll free. Just for calling 877-663-3830. Get 1 month's payroll for free. Call Paychex right now. 877-663-3830. That's 877-663-3830.
Hey, I don't back anybody unless I believe in them. And I do believe in the value of investing in gold and silver. And the company I trust to buy my gold and silver from is Swiss America. I've been working with them for nearly a decade. I trust them, and you can too. Swiss America will help you sort through and find the best options available when you're considering investing in gold and silver coins. Listen, for over 30 years, Swiss America has been offering Americans what they want in their investments: safety, liquidity, quality, reliability, and a potential profit. Gold and silver have a place in every investor's portfolio. So, why not let Swiss America help you diversify your investment portfolio now? Call now for free information. 800-978-3907, 800-978-3907, 800-978-3907, 800-978-3907.
Hey, Bugsy, you hear the news about Vinny?
Yeah, it's a real shame. He owed money to the IRS and they finally cut up with him.
Just like Al Capone.
If the IRS can get the Capone, imagine what they can do to little old Vinny, huh?
Poor cat, he was on top of the world. Then bada boom, bada bing.
What Vinny needs now is an offer he can't refuse.
Hey, you got a tax problem? Does the IRS claim you owe them a bunch of dough? They can get you too. So call the tax relief line now and learn if you qualify to negotiate your $10,000 plus IRS tax debt for up to a 75% savings. Don't be like Al or Vinny and get busted. Make this free call now. Learn how you may be able to pay the IRS less.
Call now. 866-657-8474. 866-657-8474. 866-657-8474. 866-657-8474.
All right, we're back. You're listening to the Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives. I'm your host, John Matthews, along with Joe Hakos. I want to get right back to this because my mind is going in circles right now. Some of it has to do with rage, but I'm trying to keep everything within context because every time, what I find myself doing, I don't know about you, Joe, but what I find myself doing is as I read these comments, I go off in different avenues here as to what they all mean in terms of the big picture. So it's at times a little difficult here to say to keep the main thing the main thing. There's so much in these words that can be dissected in so many different ways.
Yes,
and none of it good. None of it good.
No, I certainly didn't blog at a memorial service for fallen officers. That's for darn sure.
Yeah. And,
I mean, seriously, he wanted to project this. And really, the root cause, these officers wouldn't have even been out on the streets if it wasn't for this Black Lives Matters, because it was founded on lies. Right. And so to have them out there and have this guy go off and shoot them because they were white and they were policemen.
Yeah. Well,
police officers, and I must shoot them.
There's another aspect of this. And that is, we talk about, rightfully so, many times police officers, people in law enforcement, are actually out and have to defend the very people that probably should be locked up, okay? Yeah. and because of the way our laws are, Obama's sitting there telling us we're a nation of laws, and the way those laws are written is that you just can't decide under your own judgment or jurisdiction what is right and what is wrong when it comes to any given situation. A cop gets called to a scene, and he's told, there's something going on here. Let's just use something simple. Domestic dispute. Okay? Now, what you know is that you've got people within a home arguing. You don't know if it's husband, wife. You don't know if it's family. You don't know if it's friends, whatever. But you're going to a scene that when you get there, you really have no idea what is going to be presented there.
Absolutely. You have no idea.
No idea what you're going to come up to when you get there. And in the same light, you have to also keep in mind that until you know what's going on, you can't really judge per se what your reaction or response is going to be. So you're sitting there, you're going into a a hostile environment, very volatile. You don't know what you're going to face. And the whole time, your number one priority is to make sure that the very people that you may have to arrest 5 minutes from now are the people that you have to protect. I mean, that's kind of its own little oxymoron.
Yeah, it's what it is, and it's amazing that they can do it at all.
Yeah.
And the thing is let's give it. Look, these people that are protesting, the reason why the cops were out there that night. If you I love what the police chief said. He said, "Look, we're hiring. You don't like what's going on around here. Stand up, get out and be part of the solution, not the problem. These people are out there just becoming the problem instead of go out and fix the problem, not protesting. Protesting ain't going to do it. You got enough people, you can organize that many people to protest. Just imagine what you do to organize people to fix the damn problem."
Right, and here, you've hit the nail on the head here. When we talk about this Moat and Bailey process here, or this tactic, and that is to know when to soft sell something and then know when to hard sell it. And this is, in the article that we were talking about here with David French, the idea that he's trying to get across, really, in essence, now we've taken a certain part of it for the purpose of expanding our dialogue, but what he's talking about is how this Moat and Bailey has duped those people who buy into the ideal that's being projected here on the face. When Black Lives Matter people are in front of the cameras on Fox News or CNN or MSNBC, it's all about peace. It's all about peaceful protest and making we have our demands or we have our grievances, that kind of thing. But when they're out on the street, it's all about disrupting. It's all about destroying. It's all about dividing. And so what happens is people see the facade on the TV and they go out to join something like this thinking that they're joining something noble, and they find themselves in the middle of something not even close to what they are imagining getting themselves into. Now, the average person, what they do one of two things. They walk away from it and say, wait a minute, I didn't sign up for this. Or they allow themselves through some kind of social peer pressure to just join along. I can't tell you how many of the interviews I've seen with people that were in these protests, and when you ask them really what they were protesting, they really can't tell you. Well, it's about Black Lives Matter. What does that mean? They really can't tell you what that means. What they can tell you is that everybody's pissed off because they have been told everybody's pissed off. And so, okay, well, if they're pissed off, I must be pissed off. You know, I maybe I don't know I'm pissed off, but I must be. You know, that kind of thing. They don't even have the ability to reason within themselves of maybe finding out what this is really about before you join it. You know, what's the deal with the Sanders crowd? There's an example. You guys all jumped on the Bernie wagon just blindly because this guy just fed you a bunch of crap that you thought was, you know, hey, yeah, this is great.
Free college.
Yeah, free college, free health care. Minimum wage. Yeah, I can work at McDonald's my entire life. You know,
$15 an hour for, I don't know,
flipping hamburgers. Yeah, okay. Being a banana beeper at Ralph's Market, you know, that kind of thing. Yeah, you can do it. And Uncle Bernie's going to give it all to us. And he's going to make the 1% pay. You don't even know who the 1% is. You don't know that the very person that you now have to look at as a possible candidate is the 1%.
Yeah, isn't that's the ironic thing about that whole thing? Hey, feel that burn, baby, because that is the ironic thing. The people you were protesting and you thought Bernie was going to lead you down that golden path, they're exact people that Bernie's on that side now. Okay,
Uncle Bernie has just joined the unholy alliance with the very people he just spent a year and a half campaigning against. And well, I can understand. Again, there were some people, from what I hear, threw their signs up and said, nope, Bernie, we're not buying it. You lied to us, and they're going to walk out. They probably won't vote at all. Okay, then there's so much for that. Okay, maybe they'll vote for Trump out of anger. Either way, she's not going to amass all the votes that they think that this is going to happen. Not everybody's going to follow Bernie Sanders from this point on.
So what have they effectively learned? They've learned that the political process is not meant for them, and so they won't get involved in their government or in their election process at all. So they'll sit back on their dead butts again and do nothing when they absolutely, hey, at least you got involved, but you got involved in the wrong way because you were duped and you were following the wrong people. But that doesn't make what you initially started to do wrong. It's just how you were going about it. You need to stay involved.
Yeah.
And think about it some more.
Otherwise, we'll just wait till the next Occupy Wall Street demonstration comes up, and you can go join them.
Again, why are you marching? Why are you protesting? Because that's what we got to do.
Yeah, because it's the in thing to do. Okay. Yeah, we talk about history repeating itself. Let's go back to the 60s.
That's exactly what that's like.
Okay, let's just protest because it's just cool to do it.
Where we go? We're going out to the protest. What are your protests? I don't know, but they're protesting.
Yeah, I'm protesting that I have to protest. I'm upset that I am upset. Okay, well, what are you upset about?
You know, it's funny, if I recall right, I think there was a My Three Sons episode exactly that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, well, share that with us when we come back. We got to go to a break here.
That's just going by some crazy memory on that.
Yeah.
That could be way off
pulling
base.
something out of the 50s and 60s, My Three Sons. Oh, yeah, that'll be fun. That'll be fun. Stay with us, guys. We'll be right back.
You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardosa. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardosa Live Daily, Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decisions concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday, 3 to 5 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosalive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosalive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did.
Read something recently worth thinking about. It's the soldier, not the campus organizer, who's given us freedom to demonstrate. It's the soldier, not the reporter, who's given us freedom of the press. It's the soldier, not the poet, who's given us freedom of speech. It's the soldier who serves under the flag, who defends the protesters' right to burn the flag. Isn't it time now to demonstrate that we support our troops? Were it not for the brave, there'd be no land of the free.
Fred Thompson's message was brought to you by citizensunited.org.
All right, hey, we're back. The Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives. I'm your host, John Matthews, along with Joe Hakos. All right, your story, My Three Sons. Joe?
No, John. I'm looking that up now. You're going by some really foggy memory now. I could have swore there was something like that on there, but I don't know. But you can imagine it happening back, because that was in the late 60s. And so if I'm trying to look it up now, see if I can find one there. I'm going through our episodes now, as a matter of fact. So if I find it, I'll let you know what I'll let you know what it was about.
Okay. All right. Maybe see if you can locate it on YouTube. Maybe they'll have a clip of it or something. My Three Sons Protest or something like that.
Well, do you believe that show was on for 12 seasons?
No. Was it really?
Yeah. So and we go to season 12 was 1972.
Okay, that must have been when the oldest son, by that time I think he was married. He had a girl, he was married or something.
Yeah, it was my three great-grandchildren.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know. It was, but I just thought it would be a good it would be a good example of how the country used to protest. And no, it wouldn't be a good example because these guys were all clean cut and everything else. It'd be better to find something out there about the Weather Underground. That's probably closer to what was going down. Anyway, back to our thing here because
back to it because I'm sorry to distract us and go down that rabbit hole.
No, that's okay. That's okay. We've been floating back and forth here anyway. But the big thing here, the Mott and the Bailey. We've spent a lot of time here talking about the Mott, meaning Obama, how he's kind of used his words. It's just the, what was it? There's an old saying: the pen is mightier than the sword.
Yeah. Yes.
That you can the war of words is the way I always look at it. When I've often taught on the when I teach on the Bible, you understand that the Bible is a war of words, and it's what the words really mean compared to what people try to make them mean. We've seen it here all during the remarks yesterday by Barack Obama in Dallas. It was using words to paint a picture for the purpose of kind of like one of those old paintings. What they used to call them, ghost paintings, I think they call them, where you have a painting and you remove the paint on the top and there's actually another painting underneath it. That's kind of what Obama's about. It's kind of like, let me paint you a picture here, and all it's doing is really covering what's really underneath it all. Okay, and so when you have that kind of stuff, you have the soothsaying, let's get everybody swaying to the music, let's get everybody on the same page here, and then boom, lower the boom, and by the time the people may have figured out, well, wait a minute, what's that have to do with what we were just talking about? He's back talking about what he was talking about before. And so it's kind of like a little emotional roller coaster. And it keeps everybody off balance, which is the whole intent. But it also establishes the narrative to, one, the base of the true believers, the people that are waiting to hear this stuff, the people that are waiting to hear Obama say, yeah, burn it all down. And everybody else is still saying, well, just a minute ago he was talking about building it all back up, or building it up, or coming together and restoring everything. Well, he's not out to restore anything. He wants you to think that's what he's doing, but what he's doing is he's over here on the other side setting charges to the building so it'll blow up at a moment's notice.
Absolutely. I mean, he's been doing the police acted stupidly.
Yeah. And he has several times in these remarks yesterday, he's painting this picture of an America divided and everything else, and imperfect institutions, and we're not all perfect. But that's not who we are. And by the way, that includes the police too. They need to recognize that there's more that needs to be done, that kind of stuff. But then what? And then hit that zinger and then come back to what? But we honor these men and women who went out and put their lives on the line and go out and put their lives on the line every single day. Okay, now everybody's back swaying. Yeah, kumbaya. We appreciate our police officers. We love them. And then boom, sit something down. You know what? And discrimination, bias from the police department is still out there. Racial tension still out there in America. But you know what? We can come together, and I want to get down to the last part of his remarks here, because this is where the real Bailey. I mean, there's a lot more we could cover here, but because of time, I want to get down to these last remarks here. Okay, he says, America does not ask us to be perfect precisely because of our individual imperfections. Our founders gave us institutions to guard against tyranny and ensure no one is above the law. There's your moat. Everybody's going to, the bobbleheads are going, yeah, that's right, we're not perfect. Our founders gave us institutions to guard against. Well, they didn't give us the Department of Homeland Security. They didn't give us the Internal Revenue Service. They didn't give us all these departments that we have now, Department of Education, all these departments that are being used for social engineering and bringing about a fundamental transformation of America. Okay? But he mentions, and I noticed one other thing. He uses the word democracy instead of republic.
Thank you.
Okay? So, now he gets back to the moat. But as the men we mourn today, these 5 heroes knew better than most. We cannot take the blessings of this nation for granted. Only by working together can we preserve those institutions of family and community, rights and responsibilities, law and self-government that is the hallmark of this nation. What self-government are you talking about, Barack Obama? Okay, now, let's see here. We can let's see, and that's what I take away from the lives of these outstanding men. The pain we feel may not soon pass, but my faith tells me that they did not die in vain. I believe our sorrow can make us a better country. I believe our righteous anger can be transformed into more justice and more peace. Weeping may endure for a night, but I'm convinced joy comes in the morning. By the way, that's another scriptural reference to Psalms. There may be pain in the night, but joy comes in the morning. And it's talking about somebody who is in an inner conflict within themselves, praying before God. I know I'm having all these inner conflicts and pain of everything that I'm going through as a person. But I know in the end, I'll have joy in the morning. So it's another misquote of Scripture. But what he's also saying here, he goes back and reiterates what he said earlier. We also glory in our sufferings because we know that suffering produces perseverance, character, and character hope. Okay? As we get older, we learn we don't always have to control things. Not even a president does. There's a moat for you. I'm not trying to control anything. But we do have control over how we respond to the world. We do have control over how we treat each other. So all this is all the moat and Bailey combined. What we need to do, we need to recognize that we're imperfect beings, and we need to recognize that none of us have all the answers. But if we come together collectively and we allow the government to determine for us what's right and wrong, we can come to a place of peace and understanding. That's what this is all about, and he uses the human shields. We're mourning the lives of 5 heroes. Another word that I hear way too much these days. Heroes. Heroes. Anybody that dies doing something is a hero. I would not call these cops heroes by the pure definition of the word. Maybe, perhaps. But the point being is that heroes is somebody that said, well, I don't know. I'm going to give up that argument. I'm just trying to beat a rhetorical point into the ground here. Okay. Let's see. Here, here we go. With an open heart, we can worry less about which side has been wronged and worry more about joining sides to do right. Okay, that is leftist speak. Give up your individuality and join the collective, because as collectively we imagine a world with no heaven, no hell, no borders, no wars. Imagine a war that they give and nobody shows up. You know, that kind of stuff. The stuff that they used to rant about back in the 60s. What if we had a war and nobody came? Okay. Anyway, I'll give you got any closing thoughts here, Joe?
I was just thinking of the mouse that roared, that movie. You remember that?
I'm sorry?
The mouse that roared. That movie? Yeah, you know, some little country of like 19 people were going to take on like the United States or something. They declared war, blah, blah, so they could get money from us, actually, if I recall right. This is just so whack, this whole speech. It was like, it's like he just talks to hear himself talk.
Yeah.
And like you said, he mentioned himself. How many times? Like 19 times he mentioned himself or something?
45 times he mentioned himself.
He mentions himself. That's just insane. I mean, really? Just stop. I mean, my goodness. I mean, for the love of Pete.
Yeah.
Stop it.
Yeah, why don't you let's just keep it where it is. Let's keep it focused on, all these lives that were sacrificed and everything else. It's not about what you think, Obama. It's not about what you see. It's not about what you perceive. You're the president of the United States. Your job is to execute the law, protect the Constitution based on what the people have created.
It's a memorial service for these men.
Yeah.
It memorializes them, not your agenda.
Yeah. Anyway, guys, we're out of time here. And just remind you to visit our website, theconservativesyndicate.net. We'll be back on the air tomorrow. We'll be talking about the Democratic platform, I think, tomorrow. We'll lay this to rest for right now. and get onto another topic. So we love you. Thank you for visiting us today, and check out our website, theconservativesyndicate.net. We love you. Bye-bye. Thanks for tuning in to this edition of the Conservative Syndicate, the nationally acclaimed, globally syndicated, politically incorrect talk show that seeks to tear down the imaginary wall of separation between church and state. We want to make you aware you can find and access all our show archives at our website, theconservativesyndicate.net, as well as our broadcast stations and times. That's theconservativesyndicate.net. We so appreciate you taking the time to tune in, and we so look forward to continuing to bring you the best in uncompromised talk radio available on the net today. And remember, folks, it doesn't matter how many times you get knocked down in life. It only matters how many times you get up. I'm John Matthews, along with Joe Hako, signing off until next time right here at the Conservative Syndicate. God bless you, and may God continue to bless America.